Hello and welcome. My name is Sophia Lucia Parola. I'm your host, and it is the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival this year from March 21st through March 24th, 2024. You can check out 200 films screening from 14 countries in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and Cranford, New Jersey. And one of the films you can check out is a short horror film called A Suit and a Straight Razor. Here to talk with me about this film is writer, director, and editor John Veron. I don't know if I said that
Close
correctly.
enough.
You'll say it correctly for me.
Yeah.
And the star of the film, Heather Britton. Hello. Thank you both for joining
Howdy.
me.
Hey, Sophia.
Hello. Congratulations on making this amazing short and getting accepted into Garden State Film Festival. So
Thanks.
before we get into it, can you both introduce yourselves correctly, better than I can, for our audiences? And
You
let's
go
start
first,
off with
Heather.
you, John.
Me? Okay, hi. I'm Heather Britton. I acted in this film that John wrote and directed. I met John about a year and a half ago almost at another film festival when we were both there with separate films, and we hit it off, and he told me about this film that he was writing. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds great. I love that role. That's juicy. I want to do it. Let's talk. So we kind of talked, about me doing it. It wasn't official till a few months later, but I'm so excited. And here we are. I'm also vice chair of the board at the Garden State Film Festival. So just as a disclaimer, our film is screening out of competition, but it's always nice for me to bring any film I'm a part of basically back home. My friends and family can come check it out, our community. And I'm very proud to share this one. So yay.
Love that. Thank you so much, Heather. What a happy meeting.
Yeah.
Meant to be for sure. John, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name's John Veron. That's you pronounce it like holy crap, there's a bear on the hood of my car, but with a V. I wrote, directed, and edited A Suit and a Straight Razor. I'm really, really proud of what we were able to achieve with it. Like Heather said, we met at another film festival in October of 2022 and immediately just vibed. I think we think about making things and making films big picture in a lot of similar ways. And as I was developing this project, I never really had anybody else in mind. There was a couple of things, just a little bit of a process to make absolutely sure that this was going to be a great fit. But Heather, I never had any doubts.
Yeah.
This was great. It was a great experience. Like I said, really, really happy with what we achieved. I'm rambling. I'm going to shut up.
No, please don't shut up. And I'm going to ask you another question right now, so you can't shut up. Tell us about A Suit and a Straight Razor, please.
Sure. It's sort of a two-hander, but only one of the hands talks. It's Heather. Heather gets to talk. The other one doesn't get to talk. And it's about a woman named Amanda who is grieving the loss of her mother, who is just trying to have a moment's peace when she notices someone in the backyard of her home. And over the course of the film, without giving too much away, that person might know certain things about the circumstances which led to Amanda's mother's death. Heather didn't kill her mom, to my knowledge. But Amanda's mother's death.
I guess we should have discussed whether we're doing spoilers or not during
No spoilers. I don't think so. If it comes out, it comes out.
The thing is, it's a hard movie to talk about without spoiling anything, because if I don't give you guys something, then it's just going to sound like an incredibly thin film. So what I'm willing to say is that character might know some things about the truth behind what happened on that fateful day. And what that character does with that truth, and what Amanda does with what that character does. Buy a ticket, come see the film.
Buy a ticket, come see it at Garden State Film Festival. That's just enough to leave us on the edge of our seat. Like Heather said, it is a juicy role, a juicy story. I really enjoyed it. But what was the inspiration? Like, how did you even come up with this story, John?
Man, I wish I had a better story than I was pretty sure I could make a movie in my friend's house for free. But that's the truth. I had made another movie a couple of years ago called Annie, We're Here for You, that had ended up costing on the high side of normal for a short film, and I really wanted to make another thing, and I knew that I wasn't going to have the same kind of monetary resources, so I wanted to plan my creative around that. And that's when I came up with this story of this woman who's dealing with grief, and this presence being that enters into her life and forces her to confront some things maybe she doesn't want to think about.
Right. Heather, when you met John and you're hearing about the story, like you said, you really wanted to just like, the role was juicy for you. You were attracted to this project. What about this role and this project made you want to play this part?
Oh gosh, so I did lose my own mother after a very long illness, so I definitely identified with that part of the character. Um, the character of Amanda definitely went somewhere much more dark than I personally went in my life. But it was just, for me, it was interesting to kind of take on just this different personality through a similar situation. And how she took matters into her own hands. So, there was, I don't know that I went method on it, but there was definitely, I think as actors, we always draw from our own life experiences and, you know, make the situation believable under these set of circumstances. So,
There was
it was
definitely
fun.
a
It was
point on set when I was no longer directing you.
yeah. I think at one point John came over, and John's really good with notes, and I always, as an actor, actually appreciate notes, because for me it's fun. I want to try it different ways, because and I don't always think of everything. I like to be directed.
Right.
I think that's actually fun. But there was one point where he came over and it was like really emotion, and I think I just gave him a look like, go away.
Let me get it out.
I got this.
Yeah. I went over to make an adjustment. I remember which one you're talking about, and I went over to make an adjustment. And you didn't just glare at me; you were as polite as you could be in that moment. But you said
I'm tears streaming. I'm like, we really want to talk right now?
There's tears. And she just goes, I really need to just keep going. And I was like, cool. And I went back behind the monitor, and I didn't move. There was another moment a few takes later where I was just like, I think we got it, but if you want to keep going, we can. And then Heather did like 3 more takes, and I think those are the ones we used.
Wow. I mean, I love this. I could hear you guys talk about the process all day, but so much I'm hearing that I want to ask about, specifically about directing this and directing Heather. John, I saw in your bio, this is not your first horror short. You've directed horror shorts. What would you say is important when directing horror, and especially, when working with your actors? I think you already mentioned some, but kind of go into detail a little bit.
Yeah, the thing I learned on this one was I've kind of made artistically every short I've made was a reaction to the previous one. So I had a short that I made years and years ago that I was proud of how the camera moved, and I was proud of how it cut, but I really wasn't able to get the performances that I wanted. So then on my next one, I sort of forced myself to get good performances by setting it in a car and having it be about 2 women driving a car, because you can't really move the camera much when it's just 2 women driving a car. Otherwise it looks fake. And that forced me to focus on getting the performances I wanted out of people and casting well and thinking much harder about that side of things. And on this one, I was able to kind of combine those competencies, plus up the performance side even more. And what I learned on this one was that you really need to listen to your actors when they tell you what they need. On the previous short, I had a wonderful actor named Riley Critchlow, and what they needed was a lot of really intense background work. Like, one of our rehearsals on that short was an hour and a half of discussing the previous 2 years of this character's life. I don't know if we even ran lines that day. It was just like writing a bio. And what I learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, was Heather didn't seem to need that kind of work to get into the moment. What Heather was doing was a much more moment-to-moment, intuitive sort of thing, and it didn't seem like that kind of scaffolding was as essential. But my error as a director, which thankfully I corrected quickly, was I went into this assuming that Heather would need the same thing that Riley did, which turned out to not be the case. And as soon as I noticed that, I did pivot. But that was what taught me, like, oh, you do need to like notice what these people are telling you that they need, and then trust them when they tell you what they need. And also related to our earlier anecdote, get the hell out of their way.
Right. So it's good at director intuition, knowing when to come in and when to just let it do the thing. And I love that answer. Thank you. And Heather, I know, I'm not sure how much horror you've done. I remember Victim Number 6 a few years ago at Garden State Film Festival, type thriller, maybe not as horror-esque as this, but we know this genre, you really are captivating in anything you do, but specifically this genre, you have a way of making it grounded and believable. So what would you say when it comes to acting in horrors, and specifically when it came to acting in a suit and a straight razor? How did you sell that character and, really ground yourself?
Thank you. I appreciate that, Sophia. And by the way, you're an amazing actress in your own right, so that means a lot coming from you, truly. I don't know that there's really anything different between like a more typical drama versus a horror slash thriller, because unless it's some kind of spoof or comedy where maybe you're playing it a little bigger, you want to be grounded. And even in those cases, you still want to be grounded in the truth. Your character is believing this is all true. It helps to have believable writing. There are times where I've worked on projects where it's like super far-fetched, or I'm like, I would never say this. And then I'm trying to say these words that feel so unnatural. So the writing really goes a long way. Kudos to John. But yeah, I think it's essentially the same. Just, you are who you are in that moment, and those circumstances are real. And where do we go from here?
Love that. And John, talk to me about the other actor. As you said, this is a little bit of a two-hander. We see mostly Heather, but there is someone else we get to see in this too. What was it like casting that role and just creating that character in general, maybe without giving too much away for our audience?
Yeah. So Cody Crosland is an imposing gentleman who in real life is among the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. He is just a sweet, sweet man who looks like murder. He's a pro wrestler who's performs under the name Tyler Bateman. You can see him all around the country. Follow him. He's a really entertaining pro wrestler as well. And I had cast him in my previous project as well, and kind of brought him along because he cut such an imposing figure. And the thing I really like about working with pro wrestlers, because I do really like working with pro wrestlers, is they have a sense of stagecraft that is honed through a number of repetitions that you can't really get anywhere outside of pro wrestling in terms of like modern performance art. Like even a theatrical run, like if you get booked for something, you'll do a run of a play, but then you're not on anything for maybe months at a time.
Right.
But like he's out there performing 2-3 times every weekend and has been for 20 years. So he understands. I remember watching him. I met him because I was working on another project and went and sat in on him training other wrestlers. And I remember there was a moment when he was training some younger wrestlers, and he said something so simple that I'd never considered, which was, when you're a wrestler with long hair and you're in a submission hold, get your hair out of your face so that the audience can see you selling how much it hurts.
Right.
Because if your hair's in your face, you can't emote. And he has a really intuitive grasp of the physicality of a character, and knows how to make these micro adjustments that make him ideal for these kinds of performances. And he also does the voicemail at the end of the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. And he came into my office he was sitting where I'm sitting right now, and he did that in like 4 takes. Just sat down. I gave him a couple of notes, stitched 2 of them together, and that's what's in there. He's great. If anybody wants to work with him, please reach out. Like I can't praise either of the performers that I got to work with on this enough.
Wow. Amazing to hear this director just talking amazing things about the cast. And I'm not surprised, because they're the film. They're not the film. There's so much more going on, but perfectly cast. We're running out of time, but I could talk to you guys all day about this, because like I said, I'm a really big fan of this film, but I want to hear about how it feels to have a suit and a straight razor screening at the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival. We love Heather here. You're one of the people on the chair. So We know you love the festival, Heather, but let's ask John how he feels to have his film at the Garden State Film Festival this year.
It's great. I know there's a long and storied history of some great projects coming through here. It's going to be interesting because this is the first like normal people festival that this is played at.
Non-genre.
Yeah, it's played at some horror festivals with creepy little weirdos like me. But you guys are like normal people, so I don't know how this is going to
We are normal people, but we are going to be in a really stellar horror block. We're paired. We're on the Saturday night at 9 p.m. at the Asbury Lanes. We're paired with Chomp and Hide Your Crazy, so 2 other horror shorts, and then Faceless After Dark is the feature starring Jenna Cannell from the Terrifier franchise. So horror lovers should come on out.
And I got to catch Faceless After Dark at a festival a few months ago. It rips. Everybody go watch it. It's so good. Put it into your eyeballs as soon as you can.
Well, thank you, Heather, because I couldn't have said that better myself because I didn't know all that. But I do know that I've been to a horror block at Garden State Film Festival, and I saw Terrifier 2 last year at one of the horror blocks. Yeah. Great turnout, big crowd, super fun. So I'm really excited for our Garden State Film Festival audiences to see this. Let me tell you how you can watch this amazing block that we just heard from Heather. All these other great films will be out, including Suit and a Straight Razor. It will be playing Saturday, March 23rd, 9 to 11:15 film block at Asbury Lanes. Check it out Saturday night. See these wonderful people. John, will you be there?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Woo!
So, we can't wait to see you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me. Congratulations again, and I'll see you at the film festival.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.